Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is the newest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're on phase 3 now. Shit's crazy. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange. At a point, the internet was like, hey, you know who should play Doctor Strange? The Batch of Cumber. Well, we got our wish. Doctor Strange is a neurosurgeon. He's super talented. He's arrogant. He's cocky because we love our arrogant, cocky doctors. I can't stress that enough. This movie is pretty much Greg House learns magic. He even sounds like him. I don't believe in chakras or energy or the power of belief. I believe in the patient. Because one rainy night, Doctor Strange wrecks his car. His hands are crushed. He's a neurosurgeon. He needs his hands. Now his hands kind of shake. So in a quest to find a way to stop the shaking of the hands, he comes across these monks who are pretty much like, hey, we teach magic. You want to learn? May stop the shaking of the hands. Now we have Doctor Strange. And this was a really enjoyable movie because Doctor Strange really is an origin story, and I love that. I love seeing the origin of this is a pretty crazy character. Dude's a neurosurgeon who busts up his hands and hey, guess what? He becomes a sorcerer. What? What I love is that he didn't want to be a sorcerer. This shitstorm that's coming after him, he didn't ask for it. He didn't go looking for it. He's not like, okay, yeah, let's protect the universe. No, Mads Mikkelsen is evil sorcerer starting to do some bad stuff that's going to damage existence as we know it, or at least our realm of existence as we know it. So now it's just reaction is what he does. But it really is a great path seeing him grow and learn and seeing him shed away the layers of his arrogance. Because when this movie starts out, you're like, there is no way this guy is going to be humble enough to learn magic. And if he does learn magic, I don't want him learning magic. He's probably going to do some dick stuff. But as you go along the path, it's great to see him humble himself and ultimately pretty much play out Tony Stark's origin story just with magic and monks. Arrogant guy learns the error of his ways and then becomes a hero. I mean, come on. Actually, that's pretty much Thor also. It's pretty much anyone but Captain America because he was always awesome and always had heart and kind of moved Thor's hammer slightly. And Benedict Cumberbatch was great as Stephen Strange. He really was. There was a lot more humor in this movie than I thought there would be. I'm not used to Benedict Cumberbatch being that funny. I was actually mostly pleasantly surprised by the humor. It's always good when a moment of humor comes in a way that you're like, oh, didn't expect that. Worked for the moment. An arrogant guy with no humor is just a dick. But there were moments in this movie where something good happens, something cool happens. You're like, ooh, let it resonate. Let it sizzle. Let it, humor happen. You're like, humor kind of compromised that moment. Most of the time the humor hits, a couple of times the humor does compromise. I just would have rather had an epic moment than a humorous moment. And there was one scene of time where like one moment he is having trouble making a portal and then the next moment he is just the master of portals. You're like, I imagine you've been at this for a while now. Have you been doing this for years? I mean, in Batman Begins, I had no problem buying the fact that he was training for a few years. I do not actually know how long Doctor Strange was actually training in magic. I have to assume it was years. I don't think he'd be this good after a matter of months. Mads Mikkelsen was good in the role that he was in. I wish we had seen him more. Man, there was one gripe in every Marvel movie. It's that I wish I saw more of the villain. They're coughing out baddies and our good guys have to stop the baddies. It's pretty much what it is. He's not the most useless villain you've ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not at all. He's not like Zemo in Civil War where you're like, I don't think you had to be there at all, really, for Civil War to happen. No, he clearly needs to be in this movie to push the plot forward to make it happen. There's actually more about that I'll talk in my spoiler video, but can't talk about it here. No spoilers. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I hope I say his name right. I feel like I've been mispronouncing it all these years, but I should learn to pronounce it correctly because the dude's a great actor and he does add to this movie. Even Rachel McAdams was good as a love interest. Generally, love interests are in movies like this because like, well, you need to humanize them, so they need to have a relationship. The audience can connect to it. But this one really does. They do it right because it's not really a romance. It's not a love interest because Stephen Strange clearly Dude closes. I'm saying. They use her sparingly and they use her right to the point where she actually does add in the scenes that she's in. But visually, man, let's talk about the visuals in this movie. There are so many moments of imagine a throwdown like this. Imagine looking through a kaleidoscope at a cityscape and then you turn the thing and the city starts folding in on itself. Now imagine that, but in that city that's folding in on itself, there are people fighting with magic in there. Seriously. Fractals and tesseracts. This movie. Yeah, are you intrigued? You're at least intrigued. Guys, in the end, Doctor Strange doesn't break new ground other than the fact that it's magic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The closest we had to that until this time was Thor. I know Dr. Nazi Monocle was talking about we're in the age of magic, but we really hadn't seen that because it was still based on Loki's staff, which is essentially technology that we see as magic, which is what Thor kind of illustrated. It's a hybrid of both. This is straight up magic. There's no way around. There's no tech running this. The way they use magic for fights is where the unique nature of this film lies. It was a fun movie. It was a visual spectacle. I had a great time with it. I will say Doctor Strange is certainly worth watching. You're gonna watch the movie anyway. It doesn't matter what I say. But I ended the movie enjoying this movie enough to buy it on Blu-ray for